Hello and welcome back to the Fundamentals of NumPy tutorial. In this section, we will be talking about accessing and modifying data. We would like to see, having known how to create NumPy arrays, we would like to see how to access single values or a subset of values from NumPy arrays, and also how to modify values within a NumPy array. So I start with getting single values, and the way to do that is to provide the indices for what you want. I'll be using a 3D array for explanation here, and it's a 4 by 4. It's a 4 by 5 by 6 array. So that means I have 5 batches and 4 batches, and within each batch I have 5 rows and 6 columns. So when I run this, I get exactly what I have just explained. And now to index, I want to get um, the value at index 1, comma 3, comma 2, comma 3. So what that means is, remember the NumPy arrays are 0 indexed. So when I say index 1, I basically want an array from the second batch. Sorry, I want a value from within the second batch, that's this place. And within that, I want the element from row 3, that's index 2 is row 3, and it's the fourth column, so that should be this one. And so if I run this, I should get that. Yeah, and so that's it. So that's how to index, that's how to specify index. But you need to be careful to make sure that the index you're specifying is within the defined dimension. So I cannot go specifying n at, say, column 7, because the last dimension here is 6, right? So it's out of the range, out of the defined range. To slice arrays, so we move on to slicing arrays. Like I said, you index to get single values, but if you want to get a subset of values or a subset of array from uh, a large array, you slice. And there are different ways to slice. So we start with slicing along a batch. So within a batch, uh, so if I want everything within the first batch, that's at index 0, at batch index 0, I would specify this way. And what this means is um, give me batch 0 index give me element at batch index 0 with all the rows and its column. And it's basically the same thing as just give me n at 0. So when I run this, I should get what corresponds to the first batch. Yeah, right? And yeah, so just so we understand this syntax here, I would run it in a different way. And so here I'm saying, give me batch 0 still, that's the first batch, but give me the first 3 rows, so from 0 to 2, because when you specify a range like this, the last value is excluded. So give me the first 3 rows and the first 4 columns within batch 0. And if you run this, you see that it's a subset of this. Yeah, so you get this here, but the first four columns of this highlighted section. And I can also get values across multiple batches. So in this case, rather than specifying a single batch, I'm saying give me everything. Give me, within all the batches, give me the third index. Sorry, give me the third row and the fourth column. Sorry, the fourth row, and give me elements within the fourth row and the fifth column. And that's basically what this returns. If you go back here to check, you see within every batch, I'm getting the fourth row. I'm getting what's in the fifth column or the fourth row of each batch. So yeah, the last thing on the slicing is slicing at intervals. So I want to, yeah, I want to so again, I want to get everything just in the first batch, but I want to index only the first batch, index only across the batch, not the row or column. But I don't want everything in the first batch. I just want at every two, I want the values at every two batch, yeah. So what that means is when I get the first batch, I skip the second batch, I go to the third batch. Sorry, when I get the first batch, I skip the second one, I go to the third one, I skip the fourth one, I go to the fifth one, that way. So if we run this, what this gives us, if we compare it back to what we have here, is I've gotten everything here. That's this. And then I skip this batch and then I skip the second batch and then I move on to this one. And then I skip this, but there's nothing else to move on to, so it breaks up. And so that's what I have here. That's why I have two batches here. The same thing, we want to slice this further. Within this first result that we've gotten here, we want to get the first, we want to get the first, we want to get rows between between the second row and the third row, yeah. So once you get the second and third row, and then the columns would be starting from index one, that's starting from second index, but skip every other row. And so let's just print it out so we can see the result first. So what this does is, so we're saying that, yeah, so we're saying, so within this first result, give me the first, give me the second and third row of each of them. So that's this, and this, and then this and this, right? And within that, I want start indexing from the second column, start slicing from the second column and in steps of two. So you give me this that I highlighted here, and then this, right? And then same thing in the third row, right? This, and the last element on that row. And you do that for the second batch too here. And that's how we arrive at this. So the last part would be modifying NumPy arrays. So because I want to modify and I don't want to mess with the original array, I'll create a copy first. You don't necessarily have to create a copy if you deliberately want to modify in place, but like I don't want to pollute the original array I'm working with. So I create a copy first. And then the first thing we'll do is we check. So I'm doing two things here. I'm checking if the value at this, I'm trying to modify single values, by the way. And so I'm checking to see if the value at this index is the same as the value for the copied array is the same as the original array, right? And then after I print that check, I will then assign a new value to what's the element at this index. I assign a new value to that. That's for the copied array. And then I run another check to see if it's the same. This is just to verify that we actually copied. So if I run this, oh, we get an error. Let's see what that is. Oh, sorry, I didn't run this first. So when we run this first, we created a copy, and now we can run the copy. So at first, the elements are the same. That's why it prints true. And then I assign the new value to the element at that specified index. And then I check again, and it's false. That's to say that it's printed. Just the last check here, I could try to print this again, so you see that the value is different. Sorry, I'm gonna have to do this in another cell because I already modified that. So the first result will be false also. So I'll do this, and then I create a new array, and then I run this here. And we can say it's the value we just assigned to it. And the last thing we'll be looking at in this section is modifying multiple values. So I'll run this first and I explain what I've done here. So I check if, so remember that n is a three-dimensional array, but I specified two indices here. So what that means is going to give me, I'm trying to get a 1D array out of that, out of the original n array that we're using, array n that we're using. So it's basically giving me the second batch. Give me the second batch. Give me the third batch and the third row in that batch, right? And so I'm checking if what's in the end copy is the same as what's in this, and it's saying true for each element that they're the same. And then I basically print out the value. So we see just before we run, just before we modify. Now I'm setting, remember that this, the result of this when we printed it is a 1D array, right? But I'm assigning just one value to it. So that what that is going to do is going to set each element of that 1D array of that flat array is going to set it to 0.5. And that's what it's done here. And now I finally check again if the modified array is the same as the original array. Because we modified the value, it wouldn't be the same. And so it returns false, false, false across all the elements within that 1D array. So that brings us to the end of accessing and modifying data. I hope it was clear enough. If it wasn't, please reach out to TAs for more explanation. Thank you, and bye-bye.